Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm, of course, your host, Droodles, Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be questioning the legitimacy of Wargaming's actions in Update 8.2, which nerfed 4 of the strongest performing heavy tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. The T110E5 got a DPM nerf by about 250, and as well the vehicle lost turret traverse, plus the speed boost consumable got nerfed, which not only hurt this vehicle, but every other tank running it. The mouse got a massive dispersion nerf, and as well the vehicle lost 150 hit points. The IS-4 got a hit point nerf as well, and its turret traverse got slower, and the Kranvang got a pretty big turret traverse nerf, halved on the speed, and as well, the hit points went down 150. So, all of the tier 10 heavies that were incredibly strong and very oftenly used in comp lost quite a bit of their spark, and because of that, a vehicle like the T110E5, which was probably one of the most prominent comp tanks, has now basically been rendered irrelevant to find in tier 10. However, what has replaced its position is a new tier 10 heavy tank, and funny enough, it's American, the M6 Yo. Now, Wargaming's claims behind Update 8.2's nerfs was that it was quote-unquote good for the comp meta to make it more fast-paced and make mediums played. However, what they didn't structure in that argument is a vehicle like the M6 Yo would be spammed in tier 10. This is literally just a heavy that makes the Kranvang combined with an E5. It has 10 degrees of gun depression. The vehicle has very good DPM, either 3000 DPM if you're running the 3-shot, or even with the 2-shot, very comparable DPM to other tier 10 heavies, plus an insanely quick burst of 900 damage. This vehicle currently dominates pub battles as it's one of the highest performing tier 10s in the game, and as well, it's got the highest number of battles played for a tier 10 heavy currently for the past 90 days in Blitz. The M6 Show is an insane tank, and there's a reason why it is the most used tank in comp currently. I see Rain, any really good clan, you see Pramo, you see Void. It doesn't really matter if you go over to EU or if you go over to any RU clan, they're probably spamming the Yos. And in the update coming out tomorrow, Update 8.4, you're going to be seeing a different tank spammed. Now, I do think that the Yo is still going to be used very prominently, but now it's going to consist of Yos and 60 TPs, as the 60 TP with its gear oil is going to go 42 kilometers per hour forward. The vehicle is going to have 600 damage per shot base, plus the vehicle is going to be able to run tungsten shells, which means in a push, it's going to have 690 damage per shot effective because of the additional roll damage you can do with the tungsten shells. The vehicle is very quick on reverse speed at 21 kilometers per hour, and with its 7 degrees of gun depression and nearly impervious turret armor, yeah, needless to say, the vehicle is going to be very, very good and useful in competition. So the question I have is, Wargaming literally claims that they nerfed those 4 heavy tanks, the Kranvang, IS-4 Mouse, and E5, because they were quote-unquote too good, and they were dominating the competition meta. However, even if they kept the IS-4 and the Kranvang and Mouse the same, there is no way that the Yo would not have still been the exact same it is now. And there is no way that the 60 TP is not going to be the same way. All they've basically done is made a vehicle like the E5 now one of the least enjoyable tanks to play in tier 10 because of its atrocious DPM, plus it's not really used. The Mouse isn't seen much anymore. The IS-4 is still a very strong tank, and that's because it didn't really lose anything, but it's not really used either anymore, and the Kranvang isn't really used in comp much because why use a tank that's super slow on turret traverse and its speed boost is pointless when you can run basically the same tank just with more DPM, a more accurate gun, and everything else going for it. Wargaming's actions make no sense. I don't understand why they would completely ruin a whole era of comp just to make it even more toxic with DPM spamming autoloaders everywhere. And now that they're bringing out the 60 TP, it's going to be even worse. Now, I do like that there are M48 patents being used in comp, but the only reason, again, that the patent's being used over vehicles like the T22 Medium is specifically because Wargaming has buffed the DPM. This is literally like a T110E5 with great all-down capabilities. It's got decent frontal armor, as we know, and this vehicle carries an insane amount of DPM, 3267 with base, and if you're running rammer, it's up to 3513. So, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated with how Wargaming has dealt with comp lately, because they claim that way want to fix it. They want to get rid of this heavy meta competition-like stuff. But then at the same time, they release incredibly strong and sometimes overpowered heavies. I am very confident that the 60 TP will be an overpowered tank. I'm not sure, obviously, how strong it will be, because it's not released to the public yet. It will be tomorrow. But I can already tell you that the M60 should have been nerfed a while ago. And every comp player knows this. I mean, I'm averaging like 3,700 damage in the tank, which is about 300 damage more than my other tier 10 heavies. My win rate is higher in that vehicle for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's an insane tank. And if you know how to play it correctly, well, I mean, it's no doubt why it's being used in comp so much. So it's just frustrating that Wargaming acts like they care, but yet they do things that make no sense in any way, shape, or form. Now, at this point in time, I have two plausible and possibly explainable reasons why Wargaming did nerf the tier 10 heavies that they did in update 8.2. The first reason that doesn't really work out, and I'll tell you why in the end, is that Wargaming said, okay, they're performing too well statistically, so let's nerf them. And the reason that doesn't work is because, sure, we talked about the E5, and I can see why that vehicle was nerfed. It was an incredibly strong tank. I can see why the mouse was nerfed. It was the top-performing heavy on win rate. The Clanvong, I mean, I don't even need to get started on this vehicle. Incredible haul-down capabilities, making it basically impenetrable. And, well, there's one vehicle that we haven't talked about yet. And if we scroll all the way over here, we come to the 2 and 5B. Now, the FE2 and 5B is a vehicle that never, ever performed well in Tier 10. It never performed bad, but it never did exceptionally well. It was always just average. And because it was always average, the reason that Wargaming nerfed this tank does not support the theory that the heavies were performing too well, because this tank was not performing too well. It was performing average. The FE2 and 5B had an incredible Tier 10 gun, which made it probably the best Tier 10 heavy tank gun. Unfortunately, now it's one of the worst Tier 10 heavy tank guns. I mean, the DPM's not bad at 2,700. Its dispersion and aiming time are through the roof, but it went from about 3,100 DPM to now 2,900. That's a 200 DPM, and I actually think it lost around 250 DPM in total. I mean, that's a big chunk for this vehicle's only saving grace, the fact that the gun is so nice. The armor profile, don't get me started on how bad it is. And it also has the lowest hit points for a Tier 10 heavy at 2,408, and that's if you're running enhanced sandbag. If you're not, then it's upwards of, I mean, how much hit points? 2,279. I mean, think about how bad of hit points that really is. So I don't believe that they nerfed these heavy tanks just because they nerfed the 2 and 5B. What I can tell you is the reason why they nerfed the 2 and 5B, and that is because Wargaming said, okay, the E5, it has speed boost, and with speed boost, the tank is able to push into positions like a medium tank would, and it's got great hold-on capabilities, and it's got a great gun. So they also thought, oh, you know what another tank that has speed boost and a great gun and hold-on capabilities is? Oh yeah, the FE2 and 5B. So if we're going to nerf the E5, let's make sure that they can't go to the 2 and 5B and do the same thing as the E5. And that's exactly what they did. They nerfed it so that that couldn't happen. Now that makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is why nerf an average performing vehicle. This tank has never been insane, and for these 6 years it has existed on the tech tree as a tier 10 British heavy, it has carried the exact same gun statistics. So there is no reason that they ever should have nerfed this vehicle, because they haven't nerfed ever before in its 6 years of existence. I do think it got a buff, but yeah, that's not a nerf, is it? No, it's really not. So yeah, this tank, it just defeats any theory. In my personal opinion, and this is the opinion I do stand by, is that Wargaming devs and balancing team have no clue how to actually balance tanks in the game. I think that they see that tanks are performing well, and they have the idea, like I said with the 2 and 5B, but they don't actually know how vehicles perform in the game statistically, especially when it comes to expert players that are in the competition scene. So when these devs that have very little understanding of how to actually play the game actually try to balance tanks for how very, very expert and skilled players play, they do a pretty poor job at it. And a good example of that would be because the M6 I doubt that the dev team thought the M6 would be a comp tank, but it turned out to be the most used comp tank because they nerfed all the other heavies. They basically said, okay, we're going to nerf the strongest heavies in the game, so that way, a super strong heavy as it is can now be even stronger and spammed in comp. And we're having that happen again with the 60 TP prototype. And I mean, I said before the EO was released, it was too good, even in its state when it was released, and what do you know, comp players are using it all over because of how strong it is. And I can guarantee the 60 TP will most likely be used in comp as well quite a bit. Maybe not as much as the EO because it doesn't have as much DPM, but that tank's still going to be really strong, and I bet it's going to replace a lot of IS-7s and a lot of IS-4s. We are going to have to find out because the update comes out tomorrow, but I'm very disappointed with how Wargaming treats the way they nerf tanks. I understand some of the nerfs. I understand why the Clanvong was nerfed. I understand why the E5 was nerfed. But imagine in a world where wargaming, instead of ruining what makes a tank good, they just, remove consumables that don't actually add a part to the game, but just add an arcade-like playstyle that, honestly, a lot of people don't enjoy to begin with. That's my personal opinion, but let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Either way, it's pretty irritating, and it's even more irritating that these vehicles don't get changed. But as I said, I think it's just Wargaming's dev team. I really honestly think that they just don't have a clue on how to balance tanks when it comes to comp, because they are not good players, and comp players are, and they're able to exploit the things that, well, they don't really balance out too well. I mean, 60 TP, oh my god, 690 damage per shot. We're gonna have to see. I mean, my original video on the 60 TP, if any of you remember, I made a video maybe 2 months ago, and I said that the tank seemed balanced. And then Wargaming buffed it. And I said after that I thought the tank was already going to be a little too strong. And then they gave it tungsten shells, and they gave it gear oil. And that's when I literally contacted one of the Wargaming devs instantly and said, this is a really bad idea, and I am on record of saying that. So if this tank ends up completely dominating the matchmaker, be warned. I said it. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed today's video. It's just irritating to me. I've been holding this for a while, especially as I've been practicing with my current comp team. It's nothing special, but just been practicing, and it's irritating that you have to rework all these strats for the Yo, and then the 60 TP is going to come out. Now you got to rework all of them again. And you never know if Wargaming's going to randomly nerf the heavies because, they think they're performing too strong, or they are. You never know. But hey, the Yo hasn't been nerfed yet, so maybe they won't be. Hopefully all of you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!